What is taking so long for my car to get done? Why haven't you finished my car? Let's find out. Let's get started. When I was in the military, I learned a key phrase that became true. If you've been in the military, you know this phrase, and it's called, hurry up and wait. And that happens a lot anymore in shops, especially with specialty cars, exotics, Europeans. There are issues that can arise that weren't planned. You came in for one small problem, and it ended up escalating into a lot. And really the big thing we're going to show today is time. How the job itself may not be such a big job, but it's a week or two past before your car is done, waiting on parts. And throwing money at the situation for express shipping or overnight shipping sometimes doesn't even change anything. You just lost that money because it still gets delayed. So we're going to start with this Maserati Quattroporte. This is one of the earlier years that actually has the F1 flappy paddles in it. It just came in for a check engine light. And there's really nothing majorly wrong with this car. We checked the codes and found out it just has a thermostat code. It's not getting warm fast enough. It's an emissions code, basically. Doing this job on this car is not a 10 or 12 hour job. It's actually a fairly quick job. It doesn't take very long. You could have it done by lunch very easily. But this car has been here for over a week and a half now, and it's still sitting and sitting. Just today, we finally got the part. And I don't fault my supplier. I use AMH Exotics. He supplies all of my Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley, all those parts like that. They do excellent work. But he told me ahead of time, he said, I can locate one of these OEM thermostats for this car, but it's kind of a distance off. It's going to take some time, probably a week or more. So I knew ahead of time it's going to take some time. It finally arrived today. Even then, it was still a few days late because shipping was delayed. Let's go ahead and take a look under the hood of this thing. So before we dive into this, one of the things I want to share with you is as we go to each of these scenarios I'm going to show you, which are 5 of them, it answers the question, why is it taking so long for my car to get fixed? I've actually heard people say, my car's been in the shop for 4 weeks. I don't know what they're doing in there, dancing around, having a square dance. I don't know why it's not done yet. We're going to find out today that after you see these scenarios, you'll be like, oh, it makes sense now. I get it. Okay. So, let's go ahead and open the hood of this Maserati. Get the hood open and put our little handy-dandy hood strut clamp on, which is on our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. And no, it doesn't damage the hood struts because they're already dead. What are you going to do? Hurt it worse? So it doesn't matter. Clamp it on, then the hood's not going to fall on you. So as we look in the engine bay, it's kind of difficult to see where the actual thermostat is. It's actually on the passenger side, right down below. I'm actually going to lift up the car and let you guys see. It's actually something you get to from below a lot easier. So as we're going to see, this isn't a lengthy job to actually just do the work. You can see right in here is where the thermostat goes. There's just 3 little bolts. Obviously you have to drain the coolant, but it just comes right off. It's very easy. Let's take a look at the actual parts. So here's the actual old part. It's actually partially stuck open and it's allowing it to stay cooler longer than it should. For emissions reasons, that's a bad thing. But this is a Maserati. This is not a Hyundai or a Kia. You're not going to find these at your local parts store. If you go and say, hey bro, I need a thermostat for a Maserati Quattroporte, they're going to be like, a what? So obviously I'm not going to also put aftermarket parts on one of these cars. No way. So it has to be OEM, which means a week and a half wait to get this. Brand new, made in Italy, bare thermostat with the actual Maserati box. So a week and a half wait just for a thermostat. Guess how much it cost? Since it's a Maserati, it's got basically Ferrari tax on it.
$500.
No, it wasn't that bad, Mrs. Wizard.
Well, you know, you're scaring me a bit.
Most people are used to a thermostat being 20 bucks, 30 bucks. This one was 200 bucks for just a thermostat. It is what it is. It's a Maserati. It's to be expected. But Danielson will have this done here very shortly after this video is done. The waiting has just been for the parts. Now let's head on to one of actually Hoovie's garage cars. So here it is. It has finally arrived. It is the radiator for Hoovie's 1949 Cadillac, which has a 70s Cadillac 500 V8 in it. And the cooling system is a very convoluted system of pipes and additional auxiliary radiators, all kinds of stuff. But the thing is he brought it in here originally just because it wouldn't start, and it was just a simple fuel filter issue inside the carburetor. The Quadrajets actually have a small filter in the carburetor itself. It was just clogged. That's all. But in the midst of repairing that, Danielson kept getting dripped coolant on his head, and he was like, where's that coming from? And finally he found that the custom-made radiator that was originally made for this custom job here is basically the radiator with Swiss cheese. It was just had little pinholes everywhere. Hoovie actually took it to a local trusted radiator shop, which we've used before. They do good work. And they said every time I try to weld or refix it, it just crumbles more. This is unusable. However, there is a shop in Texas that will build these. We're already a week behind, and now Hoovie sends the old one to the shop in Texas. And they say, and guess what we're going to happen, guys? We're going to add more time. We're 3 to 4 weeks out to get you your new radiator. And it's going to be over $1,000. Here it is. It finally arrived. It is custom made. It's not the repaired original one. It is handmade, all from brand new aluminum. Danielson will be putting that in here pretty soon. Luckily it's not his daily driver. Can you imagine? If they can just get this thing started, I'm good. Probably by the end of the week I'll have my car back. A month later, you don't have your car back. It turned into this. This is why the reason I get emails or phone calls from people that say, hey, I live in Oregon, I live in Texas, I live in New York, or wherever it is. I got a small oil leak on my car is all it is. I'm going to drive through, and we happen to be going through Kansas. I'm going to stop in and wait in the waiting room while you fix my car. Nope, we don't do that here because of these types of things. We get your vehicle on the lift and find out there's some other issue that's major, and you're like, well, I was supposed to be here or there, and I don't have the money for a hotel, and oh my God, what am I going to do? We just don't do those types. We don't do the waiting room thing. We don't do the while you wait. We've seen these scenarios happen so many times. But it's like I always say in my videos, just wait. There's more. Yep, even I got hit with the waiting game. This is my 94 Viper. I was this close to having this thing back together, and I was like, I just need some new injectors. I can put this thing together. I don't have much left, and I can get this thing back on the road. Springtime is here, and I'm ready to cruise in my Viper. I love this car. But I had to wait. Let me show you why. These are the original injectors. It was kind of having a stumbling idle, and what I found out was there's little screens in here. You can see that one's missing the screen. It actually ingested its own screen. Some of these injectors, they would work okay under full throttle, but at idle, they just weren't doing the job. I found a place that actually supplies Gen 2 injectors for the Gen 1 Viper. They basically just fit right in. And they have arrived. Here they are. I'm sure they do a good job. They rebuild them and get them ready and all that stuff. I've heard good reviews about the company, except for after I ordered them, a week and a half went by. Now imagine this is your Viper. And you're calling, is it done? It should be done by now, right? Finally, I called the company. I said, where's my injectors I paid for? I paid over $1,000 for this set. Where are they at? Oh, so-and-so called in sick, and this guy was sick, so we couldn't get it in the mail. Actually, we haven't even shipped them yet. It's like, what? It's been over a week, and you haven't even made any gesture or movement towards getting the injectors to me? Yeah. Here in a few days, we're hoping to get them to you. I'm like, in a few days? How about tomorrow? No, we'll get them to you as soon as we can. What do you do? So, Luckily they have arrived. This weekend I'm actually going to get my Viper back together. I've got all the parts now, but so much time, as we mentioned in this video, time has been lost. It kind of sucks. It sucks for me, it sucks for you guys. It's really a bummer. But wait, there's always more. So those are exceptional cars. Some of them are either really old or they're specialty cars, exotic cars, and of course the parts are going to be either expensive or take a little bit more time. So let's move down to something more common, your average Ford Mustang. Except this one isn't average. This is another one of Hoovie's Garage vehicles. This is a Shelby GT500. You guys have seen it on his channel. It has 210,000 miles on it. It has some suspension issues and I had a little bit of trouble getting some parts, but here's the water pump. It's not the same as your average 5.4, 4.6. It's got a weird snout on it. This is the old one. And as you can hear, the bearings are completely shot on this thing. This is another one of those situations where, hey, Wizard, put a few bushings on here. It's got a belt squeal and I'll come back and get my car. And it turns into that it's probably going to be here for a month. A whole lot of time has been added. Are we in here doing square dancing and jumping around and having parties instead of working on your car? No, that's not the case. The case is waiting on parts. I actually called the dealership a couple places, said I need a Shelby GT500 water pump, and they said, hell no, we don't have any. I said, what do you mean you don't have any? So this thing's been out of production for a long time. We don't have those. I contacted a few other of my suppliers. Nope. I kept hearing the word no. Finally, I found a place on eBay. A guy said, I have a few new old stock in the box. Here it is. Here's the brand new one. I think it was $400.
That's some pricey unobtainium.
It is. Brand new one though. But we're not done. Just wait. Because we thought, okay, we got the water pump done, we got everything good to go, and Grimes noticed that this pulley, this is a very strange pulley for the supercharger belt. It's just for this GT500. You won't find this on a normal GT Mustang or something. But it spins kind of rough, and actually when you bolt it to the timing cover, it's very loose. A lot of play in it. I'm probably going to end up having just to replace the bearing. I can probably do that pretty easy. But the thing is I ordered one from a store online, $112 for this pulley. It said for the 07, 08 GT500, it actually showed a picture. That is the part I need. That's the one. So I said, okay, 112 bucks, that's pretty stupid for a pulley, but I don't have a choice. I need the pulley, so here's the money. I give him the money. I got the part in the mail just yesterday. Here's a picture of what I got. It's not even the same diameter. It doesn't have the ridge on the side. I don't even know what that pulley goes to. I shipped it back and they gave me my money back, or they will anyway once they receive it. And I said, can you send me the one that's in the picture? And they said, oh, we haven't had those for over a year now. I said, well, why did you send me that? I said, you know what, I don't even want to talk anymore. We're done. I'm going to, like I said, replace the bearing on this and it'll solve the problem, clean up the surface on here. I don't know where to get those, but this one will be usable. We'll take care of it. So now we have the water pump. Now we have a pulley. At least we can put a bearing in and reuse it. I had some issues with some of the bushings too. I called the dealership and they're like, no, no go. But I did find through eBay, and this is what's crazy, guys. I have fixed so many cars through eBay because no one has the parts. Oh, you can't find this part, can't find that part. And I find on eBay, oh, there's 4 of them. Brand new in the box. I use eBay a lot. That'll take care of the Mustang. Now let's go to a more common Euro car, something that's not special or crazy or anything like that. But wait, there's more. So if you guys remember last week, there were actually 2 Mercedes GLAs in the shop, a blue one and this red one. The one I'm actually addressing today is the blue one, but it's already fixed and gone. But I can use this red one to show you basically what we were looking at. And you guys remember in the screen on the blue one, it had a very discolored line through it. This was for a local dealer, and they said, I just really can't sell this car to a customer with this nasty looking line through the screen. However, I'm not interested in paying dealer prices for a brand new screen because I'm not interested in spending $2,000 to make my little screen nice again. What can you do, Car Wizard? I said, well, I can probably get a good used one and put it on and it should be good to go. They said, hey, go ahead and do that. That sounds good. But so much time was lost doing that. Let's hop into the red one and show you what a good screen looks like and exactly where we were at working. So here we are in the GLA, and the screen we're talking about is actually this little screen right here on the dash. This one works fine, but in the blue one there was a horribly discolored line all the way across. It looked terrible. So I'll turn it on and I'll show you what it looks like, what it's supposed to do. You see it shows Mercedes-Benz, traffic deal, and then you got all your options and different things on there. This one's a nice screen, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So this has been quite a fiasco on that blue GLA, wasn't it?
Of all the things to get hung up on, it was the simplest repair.
I actually had to go through 3 screens to get a good one. We actually contacted the customer after we got the second bad one. We're like, what do you want to do here? Do you want to keep waiting? And the dealer was like, I really don't want to spend $2,000 to get my screen fixed. So yes, I'll wait. And every time starting with the first one, I handed this to Grimes. He put it in, and then it's like,
Screen was blank. Yep.
it was worse than the original one. Guess what that just added? Another week. Every time I ordered one, another week. So I got a second one in. Same story. No good. That's when I contacted the customer, like I mentioned. Finally, we got a third one in. Put it on, and it worked. 3 weeks were lost, waiting on all these parts. And so it's like, why is it taking so long to get my car done? We're doing the best we can. We're working with what we can with the parts. The customer did not want a new one. They wanted to use one. Actually, they were totally happy to wait. But this is one of those unexpected scenarios where a whole bunch of time gets added. No matter how much money you throw at the problem, it's still going to take time. Here's what's really interesting. Grimes actually took one of these apart to see maybe we can fix it and get this thing going. So I'm going to have him take apart the first one. This is what they shipped as good, tested, working screen unit. So I'll go ahead and let you have at it.
After I got this thing apart, because I was thinking, maybe we could make 2 out of 1. Maybe using the original board with the LCD out of this one would have been okay. But what I quickly found out, unfortunately, is when it was removed from the other vehicle, it was removed improperly, to say the least. You can see right here on the backing where these tabs should be at a right angle. They had actually basically just yanked it out of the car.
So they strong-armed it out of there and
Yep.
just broke the tabs.
What they had originally did was they separated it at the bezel, but they didn't remove these screws. So I'll show you what happened when they did that. So what they did is came in here, because I noticed some pry marks around the edge of this, and my curiosity, I wanted to see what had happened, and first thing I noticed was that I fixed it so that we could put it back together. But first thing I noticed is all of these little standoffs here. Oh, I've got to pop these tabs. Were ripped off of the back of the LCD.
Wow.
So I got a little deeper into it and decided to swap out just the LCD element. And it wasn't until I got to disassembly that I noticed the actual problem and why we had a blank screen when we plugged it in. If you look right here, when they separated it at the bezel, they broke the LCD element itself.
So they broke the actual LCD.
Yep.
That was why it was a black screen of death.
Yep. And what had happened is, you can see with this one here, these standoffs had been ripped away from the display. So they were, and these are actually just kind of super glued in place so that I could put it back together. And, you know, I tried, plugged it into the other board, still the same result, and then realized the glass had been cracked.
So somebody's been in here before and then they broke the hell out of it.
Yeah, they just were not gentle with removal. They tried to pry it out the wrong way, pulled this bezel, the LCD was attached to it, and ripped it apart.
This is good testing, ready to install.
Well, I'm sure it was good before they removed it.
Sound like somebody's angry honking out there. Maybe they're getting a lot of parts waiting time too and they're getting pissed off. I don't know. But anyways, we just kept finding this situation, and like I mentioned, every time we put one on and it was dead, it added another week to the job. This is something you definitely have to think about when you have a car in and you want to try to make it a little cheaper and do a used part, or even a specialty car or an exotic car. You could run into, not even the cost is the issue, time frame can be the issue. We got to the third screen, it worked and everything was happy, but here's what's really strange. In both of these situations, I initiated a refund, and the next thing I knew, the money was back in my account. And I was like, don't you want the old one back? They're like, no, toss it. So it's like, did they know they were bad? They just like, here, at least I got my money back. But I guess they just told them, toss it. So I guess I'm going to toss it. Maybe it's not worth, well, I mean, why do they want it back? But
Right, as a defective unit, I mean, these things have very little scrap value.
yeah,
So
there's hardly anything there.
it's not really worth it for them to get it back.
So one thing Grimes has talked to me about is that we're definitely, I mean, it's our liability to actually acquire the parts for your car. But we're at the mercy of those who supply the parts. Obviously, we don't stock all these parts on our shelves, which no way we could stock every part for 5,000 different models of cars. We're going to have to order it special order each time we need something. And we're at the mercy of those suppliers. Sometimes they can make your vehicle take 4 times as long, and it's not the mechanic's fault. It's not the shop's fault. So, it's kind of a bummer. I'll let you go back to break, but thanks for taking that apart and showing us how crummy of a deal that was. So you guys have seen these cars in the shop for a while, and now you know why they've been here for a while. This one's actually done. You guys actually saw a video on that. It was a major teardown just to replace an emissions thing, but luckily that part came pretty quickly. Actually it's done. It'll be leaving here pretty soon. There are some unscrupulous shops out there that are screwing people's cars up, but that's not what we do here. We do right, and sometimes we try to save people a little money, just like in the instance with the blue GLA. We saved them quite a lot of money, but we couldn't save them any time. There was really nothing I could do. My hands were tied in that situation. But the whole point of this video is not for me to bicker and whine and complain about parts. It's actually to explain to you guys and show you kind of the other side of the story. You drop your car off and you give them the keys and you leave. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Why is it taking so long? And now you kind of got an idea. When you finally pick up your car that's taken 3 times longer than it should have, there's probably a good backstory to it that explains, oh, I understand, I get it now. That's why it took so long, and there's really no way to fix it. I have actually paid for overnight shipping on parts. Sometimes the shipping cost as much as the part. And I was willing to, deal with that. And it still took a week to get the part because they didn't get it in the mail for a whole week. So sometimes throwing money at the problem doesn't solve it. Mrs. Wizard actually just dealt with that with her iPhone. She purchased some refurbished phones on Amazon and actually had so much trouble. You can actually go in the link below to her channel. In the description, there's a link there to go to Mrs. Wizard's Ways. There's actually a whole video on that describing everything she went through. It's very interesting. We live in a weird time now with shipping and parts and stuff. It's not like it used to be. It's weird. Just give you guys an idea of how things happen behind the scenes. If you're curious what kind of tools we use in this shop, check our Amazon affiliates, link in the description below, just like that little hood strut tool I just showed you. There's so many other tools for sale there. If you purchase anything, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And also hit the subscribe button here because we have a full month of cars coming in, which means more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.